The ocean has always been a place that harbors fear and things humanity has never truly understood. For centuries, thousands of sailors have told stories about gigantic shadows quietly drifting beneath their ships. Tentacles as long as masts wrapping around the hull, and sharp beaks capable of crushing wood like bundles of sticks. Some stories were mere rumors, but others came with evidence. From massive tears along the hull to strange patches of soft flesh or even enormous eyes the size of plates washing ashore. In the maritime history of Northern Europe, there is one name passed down from generation to generation. Kraken, a colossal sea creature described as a monster capable of dragging an entire warship beneath the waves with a single attack. To the Vikings, the Kraken wasn't a story to scare children. It was a warning to anyone daring to take their boat into the icy ocean. But the most frightening thing isn't the legend. It's the fact that science is increasingly finding evidence that the Kraken may not be just a product of imagination. So what exactly is the Kraken? A mythical monster? Or an exaggerated depiction of a real creature misunderstood for hundreds of years? Let's explore every piece of truth about this sea beast. Centuries, stories about the Kraken were handed down like warnings from the sea itself. To the Vikings, the Kraken wasn't an imaginary monster born from fear. It was a real danger any sailor could encounter if unlucky enough to venture into the cold, deep waters off Norway. And when they described the Kraken, the first horrifying detail was always its size. A size beyond anything humans of that era could comprehend. In ancient records, the Kraken was often described as so large it could be mistaken for a newly formed island. Sailors said that when it surfaced, an entire region of water would darken, and the sea would rise as if lifted by a thick, rugged mass of flesh. Some swore they saw waves crashing against the Kraken's body the way they would against a real cliff. No one knew exactly how many meters long it was. But according to descriptions by priest Pontoppidan in the 18th century, the circumference of a Kraken could reach 1 mile. An obviously exaggerated expression, yet one that showed how absurdly large it seemed in the eyes of ancient people. Beyond its size, the Kraken was said to possess tentacles as long as masts, rising from the water like giant sea serpents. In the legends, even a slight movement was enough for its tentacles to sweep across a ship's deck, wrap around the railing, and snap a mast with force greater than any storm. Some sailors claimed they saw those tentacles move with astonishing speed, soft yet powerful, like invisible arms capable of reaching their victims in an instant. But more terrifying than its tentacles was the Kraken's mouth. The Vikings described the Kraken's mouth as a deep well beneath its massive body. When it opened, dark water was sucked in, forming a violent whirlpool like a miniature storm. Inside the mouth was a curved, razor-sharp beak, compared to that of a giant bird but made of material strong enough to crush wooden ships. Stories said the Kraken didn't simply attack with its tentacles. It could also use the immense suction of its mouth to drag entire vessels down into the darkness. Tentacles like giant branches, a body as large as an island, and a sharp beak that could tear wood like paper. Together, these created the image of the Kraken as an oceanic machine of destruction. But what terrified sailors wasn't just its physical form. It was the power the ocean itself seemed to grant this creature. In the legends, the Kraken could create enormous whirlpools. People believed that when it dove, the force of its body striking the water column created a massive vortex strong enough to sink even Norway's warships. These whirlpools weren't like normal ones created by wind or currents. They were deep, wide, and appeared suddenly as if the ocean were being stirred by a giant unseen hand. When the Kraken surfaced to hunt, its power became even more apparent. It was often described as a patient predator living in deep waters. When it needed to feed, the Kraken would slowly rise. This movement shook the surrounding sea, causing fish to panic and swim upward, making sailors think an unusual swarm of fish was gathering near the surface. And that was when it struck. Some stories said entire schools of fish were sucked into the Kraken's mouth like a waterfall plunging into an abyss. while nearby ships could do nothing but prey. Some accounts claimed the Kraken wasn't an evil creature. It didn't actively seek out humans to attack. A few legends even said it hunted solely by instinct, and humans were only accidents caught within its reach. But to sailors, this made little difference. Whenever the Kraken emerged, its very presence, from its size to its movement, was enough to turn the sea into disaster. Strangely, in the legends, the Kraken was frightening not just for its physical power, but for its silence. No roar, no hiss, only the silent shifting of a massive shadow beneath clear waters. Enough to spark pure terror in anyone who happened to see it. Sailors often said the feeling of encountering a Kraken wasn't about seeing it, but about knowing something immense was right beneath them, something the human eye couldn't fully discern, but intuition screamed they shouldn't stay another second. While Norse legends describe the Kraken as a giant lurking in the ocean's depths, swallowing ships and creating furious whirlpools, modern science offers a completely different perspective, one no less terrifying, yet far more realistic and logical. To understand the Kraken's origins, we must first look at the people who created these legends. Viking sailors wandering the northern seas, where storms came without warning, waves rose like walls, and the seafloor was as dark as an endless abyss. It was here, beneath fog and icy waters, that the first Kraken stories were born. But interestingly, these stories didn't originate purely from imagination. Many modern researchers believe the Kraken could have been inspired by real creatures, deep-sea animals that even today are incredibly difficult for humans to encounter. Giant squid, colossal Antarctic squid, and the giant Pacific octopus are the top candidates. These creatures can reach shocking sizes, especially when washed ashore or caught in fishing nets. The first and clearest candidate for the Kraken's original form is the giant squid, Architeuthis dux. This is a creature humans still rarely see in nature even today. An adult can reach 13 to 14 meters long, the length of a large bus. But what terrified sailors wasn't just the length. It was their enormous plate-sized eyes measuring up to 30 to 40 centimeters across, the largest in the animal kingdom. Imagine standing on a ship at night, and beneath the black water, a huge glowing eye appears from more than 500 meters deep. Anyone would think they were facing a monster. Giant squid live at freezing depths from 700 to over 1,200 meters, where humans can barely reach. Their bodies are soft and elongated, but their strength is nothing to underestimate. Their long tentacles end in suction cups lined with tiny teeth, allowing them to cling onto whales or anything they attack. This combination of unnatural length, eerie eyes, and silent hunting behavior makes them a perfect match for the Kraken. However, the giant squid isn't the most terrifying species. That title likely belongs to the colossal squid, Mesonecoteuthis hamiltoni. The colossal squid terrifies people because of its mass. An adult can weigh up to 500 kilograms, with a thick, powerful body so strong that even sperm whales, among the ocean's mightiest predators, struggle to fight them. What's special about the colossal squid is that its tentacles don't just have suction cups. They also possess rotating, hardened hooks, more like the weapons of a bizarre monster than those of an ordinary squid. To ancient sailors, seeing even a part of its remains washed ashore with those sharp cartilage hooks would be enough to convince them they were looking at the remnants of a giant monster. Besides the two squids mentioned above, another frequently cited candidate in discussions about the Kraken's origins is the giant Pacific octopus. It isn't as long as the giant squid, but its strength is astonishing. It can open metal lids, break locks, and even snap the bones of small sharks. A full-grown octopus can have an arm span of 9 to 10 meters, enough to envelop a small boat. More importantly, octopuses are among the most intelligent ocean creatures with near-perfect camouflage abilities. So if an ancient sailor saw something shift through the sea mist, raise several long tentacles, then vanish into darkness, they would almost certainly believe it was the Kraken. But the story doesn't end with modern species. When paleontologists dug into the past, they discovered many prehistoric cephalopods even larger than those living today. Creatures like Tusoteuthis, Orthocone, or Endocaras from the Paleozoic era could reach 6 to 11 meters in length, with sturdy bodies and fearsome predatory structures. Their fossils are sometimes found in regions that were once ancient seas, and their long segmented remains easily evoke images of enormous tentacles. These prehistoric clues help solidify the Kraken legend, showing that the deep sea once housed and may still house creatures far beyond human imagination. The Kraken was born not only from real deep-sea creatures, but also from humanity's instinctive fear of the ocean. To Viking sailors, the sea was a realm of darkness where everything beyond sight felt threatening. Fish scattering suddenly, the water swelling unnaturally, or a shadow gliding beneath the hull. They had no science to explain storms, strong currents, or collisions with whales, so every accident was easily attributed to a monster. Through oral storytelling, details were exaggerated. A tentacle a few meters long became dozens of meters. A wave impact became an attack from the Kraken. With little understanding of deep-sea life, imagination filled the gaps, turning natural phenomena into dramatic tales. From fear and the ocean's mystery, the Kraken gradually became a monstrous symbol feared around the world. But a turning point came in 1857, when scientists in Denmark announced the discovery of a giant squid beak. The beak measured over 3 inches, nearly 8 centimeters, which sounds small, but for a squid, the beak is the hardest part, the tool for crushing fish bones and tearing prey. To possess such a large, sturdy beak, the creature must have been far larger than anything humans knew at the time. Squid beaks are nearly impossible to break with steel knives, with a glossy black surface like quartz and serrated edges sharp as blades. It was the first moment humanity realized sailors' tales of tentacled monsters weren't entirely imaginary. The deep sea truly held creatures of astonishing size and power. But that was only the first piece of a terrifying puzzle. Centuries before and long after that, people continuously discovered massive tentacle fragments washed ashore in places like New Zealand, Canada, or Japan. Some of those tentacle sections were more than 3 to 5 meters long, with diameters as thick as an adult's thigh and suction cups as large as a teacup's mouth. When such pieces of flesh appeared before Viking or medieval sailors, they had no concept of giant squid or the biological structure of cephalopods. What they saw could only be the remains of some enormous sea monster torn apart by storms. And the fact that those giant suction cups still retained their deep circular shape made them look like horrifying wounds or monstrous suction marks, leaving no one brave enough to imagine the creature's true size. From the deep sea came another clue: sperm whales, the natural enemies of giant squid. When humans began observing sperm whales after hunts, they noticed enormous circular bite marks and scars on their skin up to 30 to 40 centimeters wide, with deep grooves left by suction cups. Some sperm whales carried dozens of such marks, proving they had survived violent battles far beneath the ocean's surface, where light could never reach and humans would never witness. These wounds were living evidence that massive creatures existed out there. Creatures strong enough to take on one of the largest predators on the planet. From a modern scientific perspective, we know those marks came from the giant squid or the colossal squid. But to ancient people, the circular scars on whale skin had no reasonable explanation. They could only be the traces of the Kraken trying to drag its enemy into the abyss. The horror of those wounds imprinted themselves deeply into the memories of anyone who saw them. And when sailors retold the stories, the details grew with their imagination and the fear they once experienced. Combined with strange carcasses, large patches of unidentified skin, and unusual phenomena like sudden ocean whirlpools, all of this formed a solid physical foundation for the Kraken legend to survive. What makes the Kraken especially fascinating is that it isn't unique to Norse mythology. Many cultures across the world, from Asia to Oceania, from Polynesia to Japan, have myths of gigantic sea creatures with almost identical features. In Japan, people tell stories about Akarokamui, a massive sea creature shaped like a giant octopus with bright red skin living deep in Uchiura Bay. In Hokkaido folklore, A korokamui can reach dozens of meters in length, and whenever it surfaces, the sea turns red as if dyed with blood. People believed that when a korokamui moved, the surrounding seawater would swirl violently as if pulled by an invisible force. These details, long tentacles, whirlpool creating power, horrifying coloration, all coincide strangely well with the Viking depiction of the Kraken. Even though the two cultures were separated by thousands of kilometers and had no direct contact for centuries, both portrayed the sea as home to monstrous beings with endless tentacles. Leaving Japan and traveling south into the Pacific, the Polynesians tell stories of Tumurai Whenua, a sea creature so enormous that when it rose from the water, its body could block out the moon. In the oral traditions of Tahiti, Tumurai Whenua was not merely a creature, but an ancient spirit of the sea itself. It had tentacles stretching out like giant arms, ready to drag small outrigger canoes into the depths at any moment. What's notable is that the Polynesians lived in an island environment, entirely dependent on the ocean for survival. Meanwhile, in Hawaii, the creature Kamahwali was described as a sea god capable of transforming into a giant shark and dragging entire boats to the ocean floor with a single tail strike. Though its form differed from the Norse Kraken, once again the same pattern appeared. The sea housed beings greater than imagination, stronger than any boat, and completely unbound by human laws. Even in Europe, where the Kraken originated, Greek mythology forged a similar monster. Scylla, the creature lurking in the narrow strait between Italy and Greece, with multiple heads and tentacles that pulled sailors into darkness. Scylla was said to hide in rocky caverns beneath the water, ready to extend her long, writhing limbs to snatch any ship that sailed too close. In the Odyssey, Ulysses described Scylla not only as a violent attacker, but as a creature capable of pulling people into the sea unexpectedly, a detail identical to Viking stories of the Kraken causing shipwrecks without ever surfacing. Imagine that one day the world receives shocking news. A colossal creature over 30 meters long recorded by sonar at a depth of 900 meters off the Pacific Ocean. Its gigantic tentacles move slowly, sweeping through the dark water like ancient tree roots. Its massive body is large enough to cast a shadow over an entire unmanned submersible. In that moment, humanity would have to confront a possibility once dismissed as fantasy. The Kraken truly exists. And if that were true, the modern world would change in ways no one could have predicted. First, the maritime economy, dependent on millions of shipments each year, would be drastically affected. Many major sea routes would have to be redirected, avoiding areas believed to be the Kraken's migration or hunting zones. Shipping companies would be forced to install additional sonar sensors, reinforced hull plating, and special warning systems. Operating costs would rise, causing prices of goods, fuel, and essential supplies to rise as well. Nations dependent on the sea would have to invest in specialized patrol fleets, not to hunt the Kraken, but to monitor where it is and how it moves. A creature capable of sinking a 200-meter-long cargo ship would instantly become a national security threat. Marine tourism would change significantly. Areas once considered diving paradises could become restricted zones. Deepwater tourist regions that once attracted luxury cruise ships might become deserted. People might begin seeing the ocean with suspicion, not only as beauty, but as an invisible danger. Meanwhile, the ocean ecosystem would undergo the most dramatic changes. If the Kraken truly existed, it would undoubtedly become the apex predator. A creature dozens of meters long and weighing tons would need an enormous amount of food, meaning it could hunt large fish, sharks, and even young whales. This would directly affect population structures of many species. Some regions of the sea might become hunting zones avoided by large fish schools. The ecosystem where the Kraken lived would fall out of balance, much like what happens when orcas appear, only on a far more terrifying scale. Scientists would face a massive challenge: how to track a creature nearly undetectable by sonar. Cephalopods, the group including squid and octopuses, have soft bodies that absorb sound extremely well making sonar reflections faint. Even modern giant squid are extremely difficult to detect with equipment. A kraken many times larger could easily evade modern technology by hiding in cold, deep, dark waters where sonar signals scatter due to the seafloor's terrain. This leads to a chilling reality. The kraken could appear at any moment without humans knowing, and dealing with the kraken would certainly be beyond human capability. Underwater weapons like naval mines or torpedoes might be ineffective against a creature with a soft but massive and highly flexible body. Shockwaves would be absorbed by thick muscle tissue. Acoustic deterrents, used on whales or sharks, might not work on a creature with a large brain and high learning capacity like a cephalopod. In other words, humans would have almost no active defense if the kraken decided to attack. What's even more frightening is that cephalopods are extremely intelligent creatures. Octopuses have the intelligence of a 3-year-old child. Squids can learn and coordinate during hunts. If the kraken were a giant version of these species, we would be dealing with a creature that could learn to avoid tracking devices, memorize common shipping routes, react strategically in various situations, and potentially launch intentional attacks if threatened. In that scenario, the ocean would no longer belong to humanity. It would become the domain of a creature we could only observe or avoid. Thank you for following us to the end of this journey into the Kraken's mystery. If you enjoy stories about science, mythology, and the natural world, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next episodes. Shh. See you on the next adventure.